Have you ever, stopped and thought about, how much power we give to names and titles?
Hmm.
It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Why do some names or titles just, automatically command more respect?
Right, like they hold this kind of weight even if the person behind them is.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're diving into today with this poem called La Logique des choses.
Oh, cool. The logic of things.
Yeah, the logic of things in English.
Yeah.
And it really makes you question, the whole system of value we've built around these labels.
Sounds intriguing. I'm always up for a good philosophical deep dive.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think to really get this poem, we need to hear it in the original French.
Totally agree. The rhythm of French adds a whole other dimension to the meaning.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to give it a shot. La logique des choses. Un homme sent-il mieux qu'un autre?
Ooh, that opening line already grabs you.
Right. It's like, boom, right to the point.
It is like a challenge right off the bat.
Tous les noms se ressemblent. Tous les titres se mélangent.
Ugh, that repetition.
Yeah.
Powerful.
I love that it's driving the point home.
Like a chant emphasizing the poet's idea that these distinctions we make are kind of arbitrary in the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, last bit. Un nom vaut-il mieux qu'un autre? Je ne puis croire que vous le pensiez.
Ooh, that's a turn.
Right. Sinon alors vous êtes tous insensés. So basically, I can't believe you think one name's better. You're all fools if you do.
Oh, the poet doesn't hold back.
Nope, straight to the point. So what do you make of that first stanza?
Well, it really throws down the gauntlet, right? Like immediately questioning why we even think one name could be better than another.
Yeah, it's like the poet's already challenging our assumptions about names and titles.
And the way it's phrased, does one name sound better than another? It almost feels like a rhetorical question.
Yeah, duh, of course not. All names are just the sounds.
Exactly. And that leads right into the next lines with that repetition. Tous les noms se ressemblent. Tous les titres se mélangent. Like a drumbeat, hammering home the point that these categories are fluid and interchangeable.
I love that imagery of a drum beat. It really captures the feeling of those lines. It's like the poet was saying, wake up, people. Why are we so obsessed with these labels?
Right. And I think that's where the title of the poem comes in, the logic of things. It's almost ironic, isn't it?
Totally. Because the poem is arguing there is no logic to this.
Yeah, the logic we've created is actually nonsensical when you really think about it. We've built this whole system of value and hierarchy based on something as arbitrary as a name.
Okay, so let's dig into that second stanza a bit more. It feels like the poet's really pushing us to examine our own beliefs here.
Definitely. That question, is un nom vaut-il mieux qu'un autre? It forces us to confront our own biases.
Do we really believe some names are inherently better?
Right. And it goes beyond just individual names to all these titles and labels we use to categorize people. It's like the poem is asking us to question the whole system.
It makes me think of that saying, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
Perfect example. It's the essence of the thing that matters, not the label we slap on it.
And yet we get so caught up in those labels. Is a CEO really more important than a janitor?
Right. Or think about brand names. Why do we pay more for a shirt with a certain logo on it?
It's crazy when you really think about it. We've been conditioned to believe these labels have inherent value, when in reality it's all just a construct.
And that's where I think the poem gets really interesting and almost uncomfortable in that third stanza. It's not just a playful philosophical exploration anymore.
Yeah, it definitely takes a darker turn.
Oh, like that line, je ne puis croire que vous le pensiez. It's almost like a personal accusation.
It is. Like the poet saying, come on, people, you're really buying into this?
And then a call us fools if we do. Sinon alors vous êtes tous insensés.
Harsh, but I kind of like it. It definitely makes you stop and think.
Right. It suggests that clinging to these arbitrary hierarchies can have real negative consequences.
It makes me think about all the ways we judge people based on their titles or their names without even realizing it.
Exactly. We automatically assume someone with a fancy title is more competent or more deserving of respect.
Or we might dismiss someone because their name doesn't sound important enough.
It's really insidious when you think about how these unconscious biases can shape our perceptions and interactions.
Yeah, totally. And it can lead to real inequalities and injustices.
Absolutely. So the poem isn't just a thought experiment. It's a call to action in a way.
So what do we do with this realization? If names and titles are meaningless, how do we navigate a world where they seem to hold so much power?
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's
Right.
like the poet is throwing this grenade into our neatly ordered world and then leaving us to pick up the pieces.
I love that analogy. It's like the poem is disrupting our comfortable assumptions and forcing us to rebuild from the ground up.
Exactly. And I don't think there's a simple answer, but maybe it starts with awareness.
Yeah, like recognizing those moments when we're judging someone based on a label rather than who they actually are.
And then consciously choosing to look beyond the label, to see the individual, their unique qualities and experiences.
It's a challenge for sure. Like, those labels are so ingrained in our culture, it's hard to escape them completely.
It is, but I think this poem reminds us that it's a challenge worth taking on.
I agree. So for everyone listening out there, next time you encounter a name or a title that triggers a judgment, take a moment to pause and question that reaction.
Yeah, ask yourself, is this label really telling me anything meaningful about this person? Or am I just buying into a system that doesn't make sense?
This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. I'm still
Yes.
processing everything we've discussed.
Me too. It's amazing how such a short poem can pack such a punch.
It is, and it definitely leaves you with a lot to ponder. So thanks for joining us on this journey, and remember to keep questioning the logic of things.
Hmm.
Until next time, happy diving.
Happy diving.